From Vassar College, this is Conversations at the Salt Line with Wesley Dixon. On this episode, a conversation with Ethan Slater.
Hey everyone, it's me, Wes, and welcome to another episode of Conversations at the Salt Line. I am super excited to welcome back to campus and on the podcast for the very first time, Vassar alum from the class of 2014, Ethan Slater, actor, writer, multi-hyphenate person in media. Just happy to have you here, Ethan.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we were talking before we started recording.
Yeah, I feel like we already did a really great podcast episode before
I
we
think
started
so.
rolling.
That is a good sign about what's to come, is
That's
that
true.
our starting point was very, very strong.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of things that I want to sort of do at the beginning just to sort of like get to know you better, have the people get to know you better, and maybe embarrass you a little bit.
Okay,
Is
great.
that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's all from a good place. Just
Yeah.
know that.
I do. And also being embarrassed is like part of my career. So
We will talk about that later then. Perfect. So you've said previously, we just spoke about it, that you have a funny relationship with your phone, in particular, responding to text messages. That is okay. I'm not judging you for it at all. I promise you I'm not.
I appreciate it.
That said, I do just want to sort of gather one data point to sort of like diagnose where you are on this sort of spectrum, if you will.
Yeah.
So all I want to know, and you can then editorialize after you give me the data point,
Yeah.
which is to say you can sort of explain away your pathology later.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me the number in the icon on your text message bubble on your phone? Like how many unread messages are there on your phone? You can pull out your phone this very minute. I'm curious what the number is.
Well, I did put on Do Not Disturb, so the number's gone.
Okay.
Which is good. But I can tell you,
are
it's not.
you are a trickster.
I know, but it's not high. It's not that high. It's 5.
Whoa.
Pretty low. Is that high?
That's low.
That's low.
I assumed you had a number over 100.
I know, but because I go through and I try to knock them out later. So I'm gonna explain away my pathology now.
Please.
I don't like having a high number because it reminds me of my guilt for having not responded. So I go through and I try to respond when I can. Things sort of slip through the cracks. I think the times when I really am bad at responding, it's because I've seen it
Yeah.
and it's come with a dozen other messages.
It's like hard to act on it quickly.
Yeah, there's a I don't act on it in the moment, and I think I'm gonna respond to this right after I'm done with this thing, and then I
Yeah.
forget about it
Yeah.
because I've compartmentalized too successfully.
Yeah.
So I think that the problem is that sometimes I see something, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna respond to that really soon when I
Yeah.
do my
Your
scroll through to
clear out.
respond.
Yeah.
I clear out.
5 is not bad at all. I am happy to eat crow on this. If I was a betting person, I
Yeah.
would have come in before having asked you that question
Yeah.
and assumed that it was easily over 100.
Yeah, well, that's where my
100%.
emails are at.
Okay.
My emails are at 150 right now.
I still don't think that's that bad for someone
I know.
given your life. I don't think it's horrible. I swear to
Thank
you, I
you.
don't think it is.
That's really kind of you.
And I'm being honest.
I do like periodically try to get a hold of it.
Yeah.
It's just that I think that when something slips through the cracks. Here's the other thing. I think the reason that I identify as somebody who is not good at texting back is because
Yeah.
the things that do slip through the cracks, it bums me out that they did.
Yeah. Well, that means you're a humane person and like
Oh.
a caring and present friend and family member, everything else.
I-
Otherwise, you wouldn't care. Like, you wouldn't
I
care.
guess that's true. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. But
You're invested in
I,
a way that matters.
I appreciate that read.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I have a second random question for you, only because I just
Wait.
did it myself this morning. And
Yeah.
I'm making an assumption about you being engaged in this thing.
Uh-huh.
You know, we're filming this now when it's around the holiday time. It won't be that when it comes out. But that means it is Spotify Wrapped time.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you're sort of in musical theater, I'm making the assumption that you engage with Spotify in some way enough that you have a Wrapped. Is that true?
I'm so sorry. I use Apple Music.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I should. I actually
Where do you
should.
listen to your music?
I do use Apple Music.
Okay. Well, that's
I do.
unfortunate. I was going to ask you not about your whole Wrapped, but what about like, because this year there's a new feature about like your assumed age based on your listening preferences.
Yeah.
And it's been very funny to hear folks talk about what Spotify says their projected age
Yeah.
is.
What was yours?
Okay, mine is 39, which I think is very appropriate. I'm
That
younger
is,
than
yeah.
39. I don't have a thing about age. I'm happy to get older. I love getting older, actually.
Yeah, it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing.
But some people, so mine seems appropriate. Like it's in the same.
What drove
decade.
it to 39? Is there like a particular band?
You know what it is? It told me, I can't call exactly what it said, but the general premise was that I listen to music that's like just slightly before like I don't think there's a particular band, but like I listen to music a lot from the 90s. I grew up in the 2000s though, right?
Yeah.
So I have like a slight musical taste of someone who's like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
Just because that's what
Do you have
listen
siblings?
to. I'm an only child.
You're an only child.
I'm an only child.
Was your taste influenced by parents or by
In
peers?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah, both. Yeah. It's a complicated mix of things. I also have very strange music taste, to be honest with you. I grew up in South Florida, and I'm a South Florida boy through and through.
Where in South Florida?
Fort Lauderdale.
All right.
Yeah.
Tucking that information away for later.
Why?
I'm just curious. That's
Okay.
interesting.
Well, so one thing about South Florida that you may not know, particularly Fort Lauderdale, is that part of our musical culture is that we listen to music sped up. It's a very niche thing. But if you go on like YouTube, SoundCloud, whatever, and you type in like any song name, and type in the name, then fast or sped up or whatever, you will always find a whole YouTube channel by a Broward County DJ who has like remixed all these popular songs and has just sped them up. Wow. And it makes the pitch often go up a little higher because of course like that's what happened, you speed it up. And so I promise you, in my SoundCloud right now, everything is like a song but just sped
played
up.
at 1.5x or 2x.
100%.
That's so niche.
It is.
I've never heard of that before.
It is such a niche thing, and
so it's a Broward County.
It's a Broward County thing.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it is a Broward County thing. People who are in the South Florida Metro generally also like take part in it, but like the DJs themselves are. You can tell.
Is that an invention of the early 2000s? Is that a YouTube invention?
Yes. I don't know if it's YouTube, but it's definitely an early to mid 2000s thing.
Because I was in high school in the... Wait. Yeah. I was in high school in the...
When did you graduate high school?
2010.
Okay, we graduated 2011, so we're the same age.
Yeah.
So
YouTube came out in like 2006?
Yeah,
right?
so it was around that time.
Right.
And then there were some songs that are just from South Florida artists that were in the original version and just made fast. Like the default is just fast.
That's so interesting. I've never. This is completely new to me.
You're gonna go down a rabbit hole. I promise you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're gonna. I hope that you enjoy it.
I'm excited to hear it because I do love. I mean, look, that's when you sample something.
Yeah.
When as though I've ever sampled something, but when someone's like often like speeding something up and getting that like higher pitched is like it's like such an exciting part of the.
Well, and it's funny because when you do this they're probably tuned out by now because they're like, what are these guys talking about? But it's so important to me to have this conversation. So
this is great.
The cool thing about doing when you find these sort of fast pitched songs, you will also see in the algorithm on the right hand side on YouTube, you will see a whole bunch of slowed down songs.
Right, Jolene slowed down.
Yeah,
right, that was that.
So
that
you will
big.
see tons of different songs that people have loved much more in the aggressively slowed down version. I think it's often ballads. I'm not a musician, but I think things that tend towards sort of a ballad kind of a vibe, are often enjoyed more slowed down.
Yeah,
because it amplifies sort of like the ballad kind of feel around it. Exactly. So I hope that you like report back to me once you've had that experience.
I'm really excited
and
to
I
know this.
will take it either way. If you don't like it, I won't be offended.
Okay.
But I'm just curious how you are going to react to this fast music.
All right, I'm thrilled.
Okay, cool.
That's cool.
I'm happy you find it exciting. I really do.
Yeah, wow. It's just like a beautiful, like, niche, like, I guess, like, regional thing.
Yes. I do happen to love regional cultural things in general. Even if I didn't grow up in that, I just like to know what sort of, like, specific things exist in certain places. Like, as you probably know, in DC, I love, like, go-go music and like mambo sauce. I love all these like local cultural artifacts, so that's one of ours in South Florida.
That's fun. It's your go-go music.
It is our go-go music. Yes, that's what it is. 100%.
Cool.
We call it jukin music is what we call it.
Jukin?
Yeah, like Jookin, or that's kind of what we refer to it as. It's probably never been spelled, but that's what we refer to it as.
Right, but it is now.
It is spelled now, yes. My last thing before we go into our sort of real-ish, this has been real, conversation, is, I met you, frankly, through the screen as Boq on your first day of school at Shiz. And so I just want to sort of invite you to reflect back on your first day of school at Vassar in your real life,
Yeah.
and remind us, and maybe remind yourself what your first moments were like here on campus.
Wow. Okay. I remember moving into Lathrop
Okay.
on the second floor, meeting my roommate Eddie
Hmm.
Shamborski.
You all must still be friends, otherwise you wouldn't have called his name like that.
No, we haven't spoken in a
Oh.
long time. I know Eddie, if you're hearing this.
You are killing me, man.
I
Go
know.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it.
I'm a real no but kind of guy. I'm not doing a lot of yes anding right now.
Please, let's do that.
But no, I haven't spoken to Eddie, but he's a great roommate. We were like, the perfect level of friends. We were good friends, but we just haven't been in touch. But I remember like setting up the beds and realizing that we could hold hands from bed, and like we could like lie in our bed. He was very tall. I'm short, but he was very tall, and we could like hold hands. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be intimate, and it was a great year.
Aww.
But
Not
yeah.
to make it awkward, but you all. So what happened in your second year? Did you live together in sophomore year too?
No,
Okay.
I got a single.
Okay.
I think on the third floor.
Okay.
Close. Lathrop, stayed in Lathrop.
Okay.
But no, and he also did. But it was it was a great experience. But I think arriving, I was like really ready to come to college. I think
Okay.
it was like a really exciting thing for me.
Yeah.
A sense of independence and like a place to explore without the confines of what high school had felt like.
Okay.
Felt really exciting socially, and I never really thought of myself as an academic, but reflecting back on it, I think I really appreciated the academic freedom of
Yeah.
it. It's actually funny. This is a tangent that I haven't thought much about, but my sister and I really relate over feeling like we are slackers. We talked about this a few years ago. I was like, yeah, well, I don't work that hard. And she was like, you work hard, Ethan. I don't
Yeah.
work that hard. And I was like, you're a lawyer. You do employment law. You're like
You necessarily work hard.
Necessarily work. She was like, I mean, I just don't think of myself that way. And I was like, I don't think of myself that way. And she was like, well, from the outside,
Right.
you just pick and choose what you work really hard at. But what
Right.
you, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I wonder how Dad feels. And so we're like, Dad, do you think you work hard? He goes, I don't work that hard.
So it's a family thing.
It's a family thing. My dad works so hard.
I'm sure.
He, like, my dad is like the smartest, hardest working, loved school, loves his job. He just retired.
Aw.
Yeah, so it's just this funny thing about how we identify ourselves, and I always
Yeah.
thought that I was somebody like didn't work that hard.
Yeah.
But when I look back on my time in school, I worked hard. I just
Yeah.
like found the things that I love to do, and being at a place like Vassar, I could tell that I was going to get to pick and choose what I wanted to learn,
Yeah.
and I was going to therefore be more passionate about
Yeah.
it. So I was excited on all fronts, although I think mostly socially to start
anew. I love that.
Yeah, I wasn't scared.
I'm happy to hear that.
I do think that that's an experience a lot of people have.
I think so.
Nerves and homesickness
Yeah.
and all of that, and I felt really ready,
Mm-hmm.
which is I feel grateful for.
I'm happy to hear that. That's
Yeah.
so cool. You referenced sort of high school just now, and I know because of other things you said or written in other media conversations, that your sort of production life, your sort of storytelling life didn't start in college or even in high school. I think I've heard you say it started in middle school because you were a self-professed liar. This is what I've heard you say. I'm not making things up. I'm saying what you have
That's
told the
true.
people.
That's
okay.
true.
Now, obviously, I'm sort of making it more dramatic. There's obviously a certain way in which you lied. But I honestly, though, I've heard you talk about not just the lying sort of tendency in a very
Yeah.
playful, white way, but rather the use of your imagination and sort of your comfort with engaging your imagination at an early age. So I just wanted you
Yeah.
to sort of reflect on that for me, and how you reflect now, being where you are in your career, on sort of the early days of you playing with your imagination in ways that have clearly served you well as an adult.
Yeah, it's funny because I think when I was like in elementary school, really, and through middle school, I was like very into like creating elaborate backstories
Yeah.
for basically games that we were playing. I mean, as kids, you're always playing on the playground. You're playing
Yeah.
various versions of the same games. If you're playing, like basketball at recess, everybody's pretending that they're on the Wizards. I grew up in DC, right? Everybody's
Right.
like picking a different player, and they're like, I'm doing this, and I'm going to play in the style
Right.
of Tom Thomas. You know what I mean? Like, that's my niche.
Yes,
my middle
your
school thing.
local cultural thing.
But so I think that I was just doing the same thing that everybody else was doing, and then I would just kind of keep it going. I don't know. I would just like keep it going at home, and I think it was like a big coping mechanism for me. And we can go down like the sort of intense therapy rabbit hole of it, which is that it was like certainly a coping mechanism for me for like not really knowing how to make sense of like, you know. Well, I'll go there. We're not going to stay there. But, you know, my mom died when I was very young.
Sure.
So I think I was like 7 and a little rudderless. And I didn't like, you know, my dad was figuring out how to be a single dad to 3 kids. And my sisters were going through their own things. And I had a great support system through that. But I also was like trying to make the world that I needed it to be.
Yeah.
And so that turned into these elongated, elaborate make-believes that at the time I also like would be like, I'm just kind of lying. But no, everybody knew that I was lying.
Right.
And then I definitely had, I remember, I don't remember a specific event, but I do remember a bit of a reckoning in like 7th grade. Being like, oh, that's actually not a way to move about the world anymore. You know, if I tell you that I'm being followed by somebody, that's a real red flag that people are going to need to look into.
They're going to like act on,
They're
right?
Like, you were followed home. Yeah, I was followed home. It's crazy, you know. But no, that's actually
they
really
like
scary.
take it seriously, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I do remember a bit of a reckoning then, and it shifted, and that's when I started writing. So when I started writing songs and writing, I think it was in middle school, and writing little plays.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I love getting lost in someone else's story. I love being an actor and helping somebody bring a character to life. And I also love sitting alone or with a writing partner and building a world out.
Yeah.
And I think that's because, like, it's just different versions of, like, you know, making the world what you need it to be.
Yeah. That's so interesting. And I'm certainly not a trained therapist, but I want to tarry for a minute on something you just said. You know, because you said earlier that the creation of worlds and situations was in some part a coping mechanism for you. You sort of were creating worlds that you wanted to be in or that you needed to live in. But obviously, when you're doing it sort of in this make-believe way, you're not actually creating that world for yourself, right? You're sort of creating it in this sort of like ephemeral, sort of distant, compartmentalized way because it's sort of in this thing, this sort of skit you and your friends are doing on the street or whatever it is, right? And so I'm just curious what it was like for you as a younger person to sort of know or feel you had this need to create sort of a world that you could exist in that was not the one you were currently living in, but you weren't actually changing the world you were living in, right? So what was it like for you to sort of like be creating what you wanted, but then I'm assuming not actually have it when you exited this sort of mental playground and went back to the world you were living in? How did you experience that as a dissonance in any way?
I don't think I did, but I think that's also why I now look back on it and think of it as these extended experiences, because I think I maybe kept them going past the playground because I didn't want to let go of it. You know, I think, but I don't think I experienced it as dissonant. I don't think I experienced it as like sad to leave the make-believe world.
Right. Thank you. That's what I was asking. Yeah.
I don't think I'm trying to think of, you know, Where the Wild Things Are. He like goes to this place and then he realizes he misses being in the real world, so he goes back.
Right.
I don't think I had that sort of concrete version of it.
I'm happy to hear that.
But I also don't have the strongest memories of it. I have like, you know, bird's eye view.
Yeah. And you also probably are constructing your memories of it in the ways that are most comfortable for you, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
absolutely.
like we all, not the point, but we all do versions of that, right?
Yeah.
To some extent.
I mean, we all kind of rewrite our own histories.
Yeah. So it's so funny, you know, you were acting since you were in middle school, it seems. In some shape or fashion, you were making your worlds with your friends on the playground, and then that continued through high school, and then you came to Vassar. And of course, you learned at Vassar, you studied at Vassar, but also you worked professionally while at Vassar because you sort of got roped into, that's not the way to say it, but you sort of found yourself in sort of a production, not at Vassar, while you were still a student. And so we can talk more about that in detail in a moment, but I'm really actually curious about the arc of your identity as a person mapped onto the arc of your identity as an actor and as a professional.
Mm.
And I'm curious if those arcs sort of map on one to one, and or how you sort of see this sort of, I don't want to say they're competing, but how do you see sort of this bifurcation of like, you are necessarily disappearing as Ethan when you are like playing the variety of roles that you're privileged to play, right? You also exist as Ethan in the world outside of those roles, right? And so I'm curious, like, and those things are not static, right? The characters you're playing, they change, they evolve. The types you play over time change and evolve. You as a person change and evolve, right? So I'm just curious what you make of the soup I just poured in front of you.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting thing because I think that one of the real benefits about theater education. I swear this is a response, I think.
No, I think
one
yeah.
of the real benefits of theater education and why arts education in general is so important is it's because it teaches us how to be different versions of ourselves and take little bits and leave little bits or explore new things, explore new identities in a safe way. And art can be, dangerous in good ways, but there's safety in it nonetheless, right? Like
Sure.
it's a safe danger.
Sure.
It's a playground, right? You can fall off the slide, but you're not falling that far. You're falling just enough to, So I think that I really benefited from that as arts education. And in high school, I had a really great arts education program that I was really fortunate to have. And Vassar, it was the reason I came here was actually I was looking at places, and my dad didn't want me going to a conservatory because he wanted me to have the opportunity to explore. Liberal
Sure.
arts seemed like the right thing. He was that's a conversation for another time, but he was kind of like, hey, I know we haven't looked there, but I went with your sisters to tour Vassar, and I think it would be great for you. Apply. I was like, well, I haven't visited. I don't know anything about it. He's like, just apply, and like, if you get in, go visit. I just think you'll really like it. So I have to give credit to my dad because I did. And when I got in, I came in, I visited, and I was like, oh, he's right. The thing that's really special here is the classes are amazing.
Yeah.
The academics are incredible. And there are all of these students who are doing theater on their own because they want to like flex that muscle.
Right.
They're doing theater like it's going to the gym. And I want to do that. I just want to, and the first semester I was here, I was involved in like 4 different productions.
Wow.
And the next semester I did another 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And I was learning to flex those muscles, and I think I was becoming a version of myself through that.
Yeah. No, that's a perfect response.
Yeah.
And makes perfect sense. I'm curious to sort of pull on a thread you sort of laid for me. What, if you can remember and articulate it, what are some of the things you've taken from various experiences or roles in arts and theater that you're like, you know what, I played this role and played this character and I had to become someone else, but actually in playing someone else, I realized I want to be that part of that character, that part of that person. Like, what, can you identify moments like that?
Ooh. I mean, definitely, I will say one of the weird things about doing a professional, like a Broadway show or a movie, is that you get asked this question a lot.
Oh, cool.
Not exactly what you're saying, but you get asked the question of, what did you learn from this character?
Oh.
What will you take with you for the rest of your life?
Sure.
Which is like a nice question, but it's also funny because you do so many things and you take so many little things from but only a few of them do you get to do press for.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
So I thought about this question a lot when it came to SpongeBob.
Okay.
And when it's come to Boq.
Okay.
Those are the 2 like highest profile things I've done.
Sure, but not broadly.
Right, they're like really specific things.
Right.
They're like
right.
really. So I think that with SpongeBob, I think it's really there's an optimism and like a genuine care for the people in your life, and the sort of platonic love of SpongeBob. I think there's some amazing queer readings of SpongeBob, but in terms of the platonic love of SpongeBob,
Sure.
like that is something that I think is really important. And spending years working on it, like became an important part of the way that I see the world.
Mm.
So I'm really grateful for that.
Mhm.
And I think that I also like had to talk about it so much that I was like, oh yeah, I actually do believe in it. I do
Right.
think it's important.
Right.
But like right before I started working on SpongeBob as a
As you were
freshman or a
19,
sophomore.
right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
19. I was here. I was in Jewett. I was just, because I haven't been back to campus in a long time. I was like walking by the Jewett Tower,
Mm.
and I was like, oh, that's the room that I was in when I got the call to audition for SpongeBob.
Mm.
But, oh yeah. I mean, I was a sophomore, I think, and I did a play called Dear Brutus by J.M. Barrie,
Mm.
and I don't remember a ton about it, but it was me and El Scopel, who's a good friend of mine.
Mm.
And I remember just like needing to like tap into like a parent's love for their child, and I was like, there was like a play that was like, imaginative, but I was like weeping, and I was like all these like dark things, and I remember that being a moment of getting to tap into a very specific kind of emotion,
Yeah.
and I think that liberated me to be a more emotional person. Things like that. I think like expressing myself has been
Yeah.
something that I've learned from my characters.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
My sense, not having been an actor in the ways that you have, obviously, I just go to bars and talk to people, maybe make up stories too. That's my acting, right?
That's
but
good.
I don't actually do that. But I do talk to folks at bars randomly all the time, but I don't make up stories. But my sense is that, of course, in the way that you've been working on Broadway and doing theater and, of course, doing movies, it's a very like it's like a full body experience. It's not physically, clearly, right? But obviously you're then dealing with emotions, right? And I'm curious if you ever, like, if you've learned an emotion through your body, right? Like as you are acting out like roles, and you're supposed to be channeling a certain emotion, maybe one that's not germane to you otherwise. If you
Yeah.
have learned it like physically first and then interpreted it mentally later.
It's really interesting that I an issue of mine. I don't express.
You have a thing. First of all, can I just say, we've only been talking for a little bit, but I have definitely picked up on a pattern of you framing things in your life as problems. Like
Yeah.
you have been very hard on yourself.
Well.
Not very hard, but these little micro cuts
Yeah.
that you are making towards yourself. I'm recognizing them.
All right.
And I just want us to keep tabs on it.
That's helpful. I think it's true. I think that's a valid observation. I think that's true. I think I do that a lot.
Let's keep tabs on it.
Okay.
But let's go back to
I don't do a lot of anger.
Okay.
I'm not a yeller. I'm not violent.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I had a temper,
Okay.
I've been told. And I kind of remember that feeling.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I was a wrestler.
Mm.
And I think it was a really good outlet for me. It was a good place for me to, like, get some of that, like, whatever that rage is
Yeah.
kind of thing out in
Yeah.
a constructive way.
Yeah.
But playing characters who get rageful allows me to tap into the feeling that I would have as a kid that I expressed, and it probably was not okay to express. And so I stopped expressing it. And I found an outlet in high school.
Yeah.
And I've never really had that. I mean, maybe there were some other, not so good outlets when I was in college, but they weren't about rage in any way. And so I don't, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I think that being angry is okay.
Yeah.
But it never felt okay.
Yeah.
So, and I still don't really do that.
Yeah.
But playing characters where I do is really interesting, and it's cathartic.
Yeah.
And it's scary, right? It's like really kind of scary, but it's one of those things that people talk about why they love acting is because you get to
Sure.
try
They're
on
going
different
somewhere
versions of yourself.
yeah,
When I got to play Boq and become the Tin Man, the entire thing of the Tin Man, and I've used this phrasing before, so I apologize, but it's just like getting rid of everything else, so you're just this sort of limbic rage, and I think that was like a pretty. I think I learned about. I get to tap into a part of myself that I don't always get to tap into.
Yeah.
So that's one.
That's helpful. If you have others, don't hesitate to jump in. But this is making me think about how you reflect on your relationship with your body
Mm-hmm.
generally, because it is a tool, certainly,
Yeah.
right? It's many things. It's a tool for you to do your art, right? It's a channel, a vehicle for a variety of emotion. You know, it's this complicated thing, but like it's also with you. It is you. It's not you don't. It's not a canvas. Like you don't sort of separate it from who you are, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
just curious, in the world that you live in and work in, like how do you think about your relationship with your body on whatever dimensions come to mind first for you?
Yeah, I think I want my body to work well for me. I love physical storytelling and I love physical comedy. Um, and I have like aspirations to do some very specific roles that I need to be able to do with my body. And so a lot of the time taking care of my body has to do with that.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting question.
Well, because and part of the premise of it is also is based on what we just said, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming your body is experiencing or feeling things sort
Yeah.
of potentially out of sync with your mind some of the time, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like
Yeah.
interesting for you to be a cognizant, smart person in your craft and in your field. And your body is something that you obviously have to have control over.
Yeah.
But in some ways, I'm assuming you don't always have control over your body, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not
Right. And losing control is sometimes the most honest storytelling you can
Right.
do. If you like, if you lose control of your face, or like it's that thing when you go up on a line and you can't remember the line during a take. Like you just kind of have to power through because that's going to be the best take. Like when you're like so lost in it, you just can't remember what you were supposed to say. That's the one that they're going to end up using because it's just like a beautiful
so
in the
honest and
moment.
authentic.
Yeah, and yeah, right. Because your body knows what to do already, and if you
Yeah.
try to tell it what to do, sometimes that's when the
It
mistake
doesn't work.
happens.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It is a really it's physical. I mean, every kind of acting is physical storytelling.
Yeah.
So it's a good question. It's a good question also because like our relationships to our bodies don't need to be perfect for them to serve us
To be
well.
meaningful, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, of course.
Which is I know, which is part of your point, I think, which is part of the question. That's like the subtext of the question,
Yeah.
which I think is really interesting. Is like we're always like working on ourselves emotionally and spiritually and physically.
Absolutely.
Sometimes one thing has to take a backseat to the other, but
Right.
ideally you can work on them all at the same time. I don't know if I'm saying anything.
No,
I'm
I'm having a good time, frankly, watching you work through the thought.
yeah.
Like, I think you are. I think you're.
I'm trying to work through the thought.
Yeah.
Because I also, the other thing that I'm like very aware of is that I've always, I referenced that I was a wrestler in high school. It was something that was really important to me, and that was really about working my body as hard as I possibly could, and doing things, frankly, that I tell people now not to do, because I don't think it was good for me.
But at the same time, it played a role that was positive in your life, right? Because you were, whether it was explicit or intended or not, you were channeling an emotion that you didn't sort of grapple with otherwise, per your earlier
Definitely.
comment, right?
Definitely.
And so
Yeah.
it played a role, even if sort of in a reflective stance, you're not happy with how you treated. You didn't say this. I'm just sort of making the point. You weren't happy with how you treated your body at that time, or you would treat it differently if you had the vantage point you have now. But it did its purpose at
Yeah.
that time.
It did, and it protected me, and it gave me a lot of control over my life.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for engaging that. It was a very fun thing to hear you talk about. One of the things that I've also heard you talk about in your particular career is sort of being sort of, I introduced you as sort of being an actor and a writer. And I think I've heard you say, or I've sort of put this on you, that sort of the singular way to describe that is just being a storyteller. Right, those are sort of two component parts, if you will, of being a storyteller. But like that could be sort of the top line, and we have these two sort of branches underneath, right? And I've heard you say before that you feel like you can be the best storyteller possible because you engage both sides of the house, if you will, right? You act, and you also write. And what I thought was beautiful about how I've heard you reflect on the role of those two things previously is that when you understand the role of both of those pieces in the storytelling enterprise, it sort of allows you to sort of shed away the ego that might come with either part of those things, right?
Yeah.
The pride of authorship, the pride of your individual craft, whatever it would be, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious to hear you reflect on how you got to that point. If you always were that sort of person who felt like, you know, I have to be both these things, both an actor and a writer. And if not, when did you discover that both of those two things existed in you and that you wanted to embrace them fully to be the best storyteller in aggregate possible?
Yeah, I definitely didn't know that I wanted to do these things with my life until I was 17.
Okay.
When I was 17, I had one of my best friends in high school became a professional actor. He like got a Broadway show while we were doing a play together in high school, and I was like, that's incredible. And he's way better than I'll ever be. But if he can do this, maybe if I work really hard, I can do it too. And that sort of like inspired me to want to be a professional actor. And I was already writing a lot.
I'm sorry. I'm only chuckling because I'm remembering you saying 5 minutes ago that you saw yourself as a slacker. So I'm laughing because you're like, oh my gosh, I can work hard to get this particular. I'm teasing you.
It's true though. I know, but I think the reason I think of myself as a slacker was it was always classes, right?
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I'm just teasing you.
It's true. I worked really hard though. I will say that I did.
Yes.
As much as I think of myself as a slacker in some ways, I worked really hard at wrestling.
Yeah.
I worked really hard at theater, and I did not work hard in my classes.
Yes, I got you, and I'm sure you still did fine. But sorry, back to the point. I don't want to get you off your point.
No, you didn't. That was good. I know it's true. I was like, if I work really hard, I can do this.
Right.
And so that inspired me to, when I got to college, to do as much theater as possible and all that stuff. And I was writing already.
Yeah.
I was writing poetry and music and little plays. And it was while I was at Vassar that I started realizing that I wanted to be somebody who wrote more than what I was writing. I didn't have a big portfolio of things, but I wrote a couple of short plays. I wrote a play for a class. I wrote a play for another class. I wrote a play. I co-wrote a musical for my senior project. And that was when I started putting my the writing that I loved to do as sort of a hobby into how do I write in a way that is something that can be performed. I don't know. Something that can be can reach other people.
Right.
Or can be fully realized. That's what it really was. It was how can I go from writing things that were just me in my dorm room to being fully realized.
Right. It sounds like there's, and you didn't say it this way, but in the hope of being fully realized, there's many things. There's sort of an accountability factor in that, right? Because it has to live outside of your brain. Others have to engage it. They have to like it. You have to complete it. You know what I mean?
You have to complete it. I think that's the big thing. You have to complete it. I think until a certain point, I was a writer who hadn't really finished writing anything. I had started writing a ton of things. I had finished writing some short things. 10-page plays, a play for class, but I didn't do multiple drafts, right? I did maybe 2 drafts, and now I'll do 5 drafts before I'm done with something because I've learned how I need to write and I've trained myself in that process. But I think it was some point my senior year, and to be completely honest, I think also working on SpongeBob, I got involved with it at the end of my sophomore year of college.
Yeah.
Just truly the luckiest thing to be in the right place at the right time.
Well, you were prepared for that, to be clear.
I was prepared.
Give yourself some credit.
No,
Remember
that's
we
true.
said earlier.
I give myself the credit of being prepared when I was presented with the opportunity.
Yes.
And I've told this story sort of too many times to count. So I'll tell the very short version of it, which is that I auditioned for a Shakespeare apprentice company for the summer because it was in the town that a friend of mine from Vassar lived in. And I was like, I'll go to that town.
Yeah.
And if I get it, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Had to audition for it.
Sure.
They liked my audition. They had me come in for Romeo and Juliet.
Sure.
They cast me as Benvolio.
Incredible.
And I was like, that's my first professional job. That's the coolest thing that's ever happened. And a week later, I get a phone call from another casting director in the same office. And he says, we're doing this workshop. I can't tell you what it's called, but you're the right shape. Would you come in? And it was SpongeBob. And I was pretty square. And so I had to drop out of the Shakespeare play.
Sure.
And I got SpongeBob. But I was prepared in that I was physical. I did physical comedy.
Yeah.
I took it way too seriously.
Well, I was going to say, beyond those things that, of course, are true, what was top of mind for me in terms of your preparation was showing up. Like, in taking the jump, the leap to even, like, try to do this other Shakespearean sort of apprentice program. Like, because it sounds, when you're telling the story, it sounds like a natural and easy thing to do. But the truth is, making those kinds of decisions, I imagine, are not as easy as they sound, right? Like, putting yourself in a spot to be vulnerable, to audition, to sort of try something new somewhere you didn't know. Like, it isn't for everyone a natural thing to do. Sometimes it can be a barrier to entry to sort of have all these things in front of you that feel foreign or feel like they're not, like what you should or could be doing.
Yeah.
So doing that, I think, is important.
Yeah, I appreciate that point, because I also think that it's something that I get asked a lot from young people is,
right.
What should I do? Can you introduce me to your agent?
Yes.
That kind of thing. And not to shame anybody who has asked me
you that.
It's like a totally reasonable thing to ask. But I probably said some version of, it's not actually going to help.
You have to.
Yeah,
like,
it's not going to
you
help.
have to do it. Like, you have to, like, be doing this stuff and showing up and, like,
because agents
throwing
are
paint
great
at the wall and seeing what
right.
sticks.
But agents can only, the best an agent can do early in your career is get you an audition.
Yeah.
It's the best they can do. And it takes, even if your agent gets you an audition, my agent would get me 55 auditions before I got a role.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, it all takes a lot of time. And the thing that worked for me, and I was in the right place at the right time. I auditioned for the right thing. And I also was looking at this wasn't intentional, but, what a Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, but in a good way. What I was doing was I was like, okay, what can I do?
Right.
I could apprentice for Stu, who's a composer who I really love, who's working on this Shakespeare thing. I can do Shakespeare, and I could work for Stu. And if I'm lucky enough to get that, maybe I'll meet some really great people who can help me with the next thing.
Sure, right.
That was like where my head was at.
Yeah.
I don't think I was really that conscious of it at the time. But anyway,
right.
The point just being like,
you had to, like, do something and, like, be
something.
action oriented and, like, show up. Yeah.
And I'm really grateful for, and I do think that there's a lot of luck involved. I don't want to let you know what I mean? I'm really grateful for the luck of having applied to the right thing.
Yeah. You've used the word several times, and I actually resonate a lot with this word in my life, so it's hitting me and it won't get out of my brain. But there's something about your orientation to gratitude and gratefulness that I want to just pause on for a second, because you've expressed it many times, which I think is a very healthy, immature, and, like, well-adjusted thing to experience and express. And I'm just curious how you would reflect on your relationship to gratitude, morphing, changing, amplifying, waning, whatever the verbs would be, over the course of your career. I have to. There's many things I could imagine about how. Actually, let me just hear you reflect on that question.
God, it's so easy to get jaded.
Mm-hmm.
It is so easy to get jaded. And I think that the fact that I've caught myself becoming jaded is what has made me reorient towards gratitude.
When did you catch yourself? And what tell me about the time that you caught yourself becoming jaded?
I mean, I guess it's just little things. Like, this is really superficial. So
we're having an honest conversation.
I know, but it's true. Like, I worked on Wicked.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money went into Wicked. I had a beautiful trailer, right? I showed up to work. I had this great trailer.
Yeah.
And then I go to do something else, and we'll go up, and I have a very normal trailer. That's right. And I remember having a moment. This is a couple of years ago. It's like the first job after I, like, had a moment where I saw the trailer, and I was like, oh, okay. And I walked in, and I, like, plopped my stuff down, and I, like, looked at the sides, and I was, like, reading the sides for the day. And I was like, I remember, like, just, like, looking in the mirror and being like, I was just upset that I, like, have a comfy couch and, like, water in the fridge that somebody, like, placed there for me, and, like, someone's gonna come take my lunch order, and what I'm doing is I'm looking at the scripts to make a TV show of something that, like, I want to do. And I remember being like, wow, I've got to keep tabs of that, because it's the luxuries and amenities that come with your job, whatever your job is, are lovely. And they are, I guess, like, it's not that they're a privilege. They're like they're an added bonus. They're like a way to make you feel more comfortable, and they're nice, but they're not a necessity.
Right.
And so that's one really superficial way that I remember feeling that and being like, to my credit, I didn't say it out loud to anybody. It was just something that I felt in the moment. But but also in that moment I was like, oh, I understand how people get spoiled in a way that makes a lot of sense.
Right. And it compounds over time,
and
right?
It compounds
Unchecked,
over time.
it compounds over time.
Right. Right. If you have success after success after success, if you're working on high budget. So I think things like that. I think that like, so I feel really grateful, and then I'll be like exhausted, and I'll be like, I don't know. I've been really grateful to be busy, and I'll be like flying back on a red eye, and I'll be like exhausted, and then I'll remember like how lucky we are to be exhausted by something that we love. Like I'm grateful.
It's a really healthy mindset for what it's worth, and it's just so refreshing to hear you be so honest about moments where you were teetering sort of down a path that may not have allowed you to be as sort of well-adjusted and non-spoiled and like grateful, honestly.
I do want to point out that I've had some really some of the best things that have happened to me have been the people that I've worked with have been really good role models.
I was just about to ask you sort of what do you attribute some of that to the environment in which you were existing in, either whether it be friendships, family, cast, whatever it would be, right, to help keep you grounded in some of those ways? Yeah.
I've had castmates that are incredible. I've had directors that I've worked with who I had this great conversation with John Chu. Who would like let me sit next to him at the monitor and like learn from him all the time. He's like, "Well, you've directed before, right?" And I was like, I mean, I kind of did like this short film. It was like, he was like, "Well, doing this and doing that is pretty much the same." I was like, "Well, John, what I did was a total budget of $5,000. This is
a few million."
He was like, yeah, the only real difference between 5,000 and 100 million is the money buys time. You get more time. And I was like, right. Also that like $1 million lighting rig. And he was like, well, you get time and you get the $1 million lighting rig.
Right.
Yeah, of course. But I remember that conversation, and it went on a little more from there. But that conversation again, I think, was like a little bit of perspective and gratitude, right? He was like, he's doing this because he loves it.
Yeah.
And he loves bringing people together to tell these stories. And he's the best role model I've ever seen. I can't quite express without sounding saccharine how his approach to collaborating with people and just generally being kind was something that I aspire to. So I saw him treat everybody like that in the most high stress situations, treating people well, and also seeing like we are doing this massive thing. And it's kind of the same as doing the small thing. You just have more time and resources.
It's funny. Well, two things. I want to say something before I forget it. I'm going to make a quick aside on that, but then I want to come back to culture, and culture of cast, culture of productions, and your role in that. So don't forget that remind me, that's where I want to get back to.
Culture of
but
cast and productions.
what you were saying earlier about the small and large being sort of similar, more similar than they are different. The story that I tell all the time is at one point in my life when I was right out of college, I had this experience, maybe you didn't have it, of not knowing how to spend my time, because before that things are so sort of crafted for you, and the ways to spend your time are sort of presented to you in very organized ways, right? Whether it's classes, student organization, whatever it is, right? You sort of know what the menu of things that you can do that's sort of already prescribed to you.
Yeah.
And in my experience, post-college, I had a great job. It was super exciting. I loved it. But that, of course, isn't your whole life and probably shouldn't be your whole life depending on who you are. And so I didn't actually know how to spend the rest of my time. So it was a good thing to go through because I had to figure out sort of like who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, all these things, right? And so I found myself actually going to bartending school.
Cool.
Because I do enjoy just like hanging at the bar, going to the bar, meeting people, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought it would be a cool school to have. So anyway, so I went to the school and it was a great like week. It was like 2 weekend, like Friday and Saturday and Sunday, all days for 2 weekends.
Yeah.
And the first thing the guy said when we came to the school was like, I'm sure 90% of you are here because you want to learn how to make these fancy, fun, creative, like whatever kind of drinks, right? And you might be able to learn that. But here, like, you're going to learn like the basics of like managing, running, organizing a bar, right? It's not sexy. It's not like the flashy stuff you want to do, but you won't be able to do those things if you don't learn how to do these things, right? Yeah. And it was such a simple experience, but it has so resonated with me in my life that like there's often an underinvestment in like the basic fundamentals, and then you're often surprised when you can't ever do or get asked to do like the exciting, expansive $100 million thing, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't learn how to do a $5,000 thing well and organized, tight, collaborative, kind, with a good culture, there is no world in which you will ever find yourself directing a $100 million thing, right?
Totally.
To use the sort of data points we're talking about. And so it's been such a helpful lesson for me to learn. And it sounds like John and you had a similar perspective about your craft.
And also, exactly that. And also, when you get to the big version of it, making sure that the culture of that set and that experience is the same. And this is something that Jonathan Bailey pointed out on set one day. It's actually a pretty funny anecdote of the set. We were like, I won't get too much into it, but we were like in this big royal park, and there were all these like paparazzi like flooding in, and they had to be like escorted out. It was really weird. It was really like completely surreal experience. Yeah. But we're like, you know, for any like super fan, the deep cuts, these are the pictures in the park that you guys have seen that didn't necessarily make it into the movie. So, but we were like shooting this thing, and he was like, God, it's so funny. It really sometimes feels like we're making a student film. And then paparazzi show up, and you're like, oh, right. No,
we're like
huge.
doing a real thing.
Huge.
Right.
Right. Because we were just like in the park. We were kind of like, you know, gunning it. Like we were
kind of
like,
gritty.
Stuff.
Right.
It was like, it actually was like a little gritty. We were like walking through the mud and doing all this stuff. And like, you know, it was, you know, it was so funny. And then of course, like we did have to have like a lot of security removed. Which was like such a funny, weird thing to have this moment. But speaking to the culture of the set, it felt like that. And I think that's,
I'm happy that we're indexing around the same thing. I'm happy that culture is finding its way into the aside that I was.
No, it's good. Well, I think you tied it in. Well.
Yeah. But I am curious, of course, beyond having a good quote, whatever that means, culture for production. I'm curious what you hope your presence contributes to the culture of a cast, a production.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to contribute something different. Hopefully, there's some through line, but the individual contributions might be unique and niche and different. So I'm curious what you hope, if it's intentional for you, what you hope you impart on the culture of the set that you're working on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think that I want to be somebody who's like, I don't know, happy to be there and happy to help somebody else and lift somebody else up, and be receptive to what other people need on set. I think it has been a rare experience for me that I find that I need something to be a particular way for me to be able to do the job that I need to do.
Yeah.
But I have found that other people sometimes need things a particular way to be able to do the job that they need to do.
And you're happy to accommodate them.
And
or happy to create a situation in which that's accommodated.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless it's like really toxic.
Yeah.
But I haven't really experienced that. I can imagine that there are those, but I haven't experienced. So I think that, like, you know what? I was actually just telling this story moments ago, which was that when I did a Law and Order SVU episode when I was young, you know, out of school.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
And What is the connection point? Oh my God, I lost the connection
The
point.
culture you want to contribute.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah. I was doing this Law and Order episode, and I remember I was like sitting in a room with Ice-T, and I was like, hey, like, what do you need? What do you need anything from me? Which is like such a funny thing to ask. In retrospect, I'm like, that's such a funny thing that I asked. That it was their 20th season. Their 19th season. And I was like, what do you need from me? It's like and he was like, you're fine. I don't need anything. But then he stopped and he went, actually though.
Right.
Your character, nobody ever listens to him. But I'm here and I'm listening. I was like, that's really good advice. And then we did the next take, and he goes, that's the one they're going to use. And I was like, that's really cool. It was like a really sweet moment. And two takeaways from that is, I think that what I aspire to do is to like be a collaborator with the people on set and bring that sort of energy and kind of stay positive. And if we need spirits lifted, be the one, dancing and making jokes in between takes, and if we need to like focus, be the one who's not gonna intrude. Though I sometimes am the one who's intruding. I'm aware that I am sometimes the one intruding. But I think and I've always kind of felt like that, which is why I asked Ice that.
Yeah.
But I also think like I love what he did there, which is that he saw that I was insecure, and he saw that I wasn't getting guidance from the director was great, but it's an episodic thing. Like they're a machine.
Right.
He saw that I like maybe needed something, and even though he'd been there for 19 years or however many years it had been, he was like, "Let me offer it to you."
Yeah.
And it was great. I think about that all the time. I actually do. I reference that all the time in my life.
I love that story. And it's definitely sort of like in my mind, to be corny about it, and like on theme. I do think it is sort of like a salt line, right? It's sort of like this point where like insecurity and like generosity come together to create this like moment that is like productive, right? And exist together, right? If they meet each other and show up in the same way at the same time, like that is a beautiful pairing of those things. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
We're probably, I don't even know what the time is. We've been talking forever, which I love. But people are sensitive to your time and my time. So we got to move away from some of this stuff. But we can't move away without giving some treatment sort of explicitly to your work in Wicked, which is just so exciting. I have to be honest with you, and I hope you don't, or the viewers. You actually won't because you're so kind, I can tell. But the viewers, they can be mean. I hope they don't run me off the street for this. The truth is, I had never seen Wicked before this weekend.
You saw this weekend?
This weekend.
Wow.
In any iteration.
Did you see the first movie?
I saw both.
This weekend?
Yes.
In preparation?
You couldn't come sit across from me and me not watch the movie, homeboy. That wasn't going to work that way.
I can't believe you did that. That's so nice of you. No,
it's not. It's appropriate. It's appropriate for me to have watched them. What are you talking about? But I hadn't seen on Broadway. Like nothing. There was I had honestly zero reference point besides like the ambient reference points of The Wizard of Oz that you just get from growing up in America and whatever, right? But that was the only entry point that I had. I swear to you.
That's wild.
And so it was an exciting like experience to like go in fresh and like watch the movies right back to back. I actually had no heat this weekend. It was the most ridiculous thing. My boiler went out. Can you imagine? After we talked about how cold it was, my
like
boiler went out. It was horrible.
Oh my God.
So I was in my house with space heaters in this one particular room because I had to localize where I could put the heat.
That sounds
but
so
it was
dangerous.
It's fine. But it was so exciting to spend some of that time watching part one because it was online. So I could watch part one online, and then I went to the theater, which I had not done in years.
Oh, cool.
To watch part two.
That's so cool.
It was so cool. So it was a fun new experience that you gifted me by choosing to prepare for our conversation in that way. So thank you for priming me to have that new experience. I'm really happy about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
But enough about my backstory into getting there. I'm curious what your experience was overall. Being a part of the production. It's obviously a large question. There's many parts I'm sure you're excited about, but just like your like initial reaction, take, reflections on that experience. What are they?
Well, it was a monumental experience in my life.
Yeah.
And also I had the opposite experience, which is that when I was in 6th grade, or give or take, my class took a trip up to see Wicked on Broadway. Before the Tonys, in its first year. And so it's been in my life.
Yeah.
I took my niece when she was 9 to see it as her first Broadway show. We went backstage. We like met. You know, it's like so. It's loomed large. I've seen it a lot.
It's beautiful.
And so to get to be a part of it, and to get to be, you know, I'm part of the Broadway community, and so to be a part of the Broadway community and then get to be part of this big adaptation, it felt like a really big deal.
It was.
Yeah. It feels like a really big deal. And so I think the best part about it, it's interesting having two movies come out year after year, because we shot them at the same time.
Right.
But people don't experience it like that.
Right.
They think that we took a break
right.
and we did this other thing, and it's these, which is interesting. It was like, you know, 1 week we were doing movie 1, 1 week we were doing movie 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The rollout of it has been really different than the experience of making it. Both amazing, but the experience of making it was like this really passion-led project, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
at the scale. I mean, when it's like at the scale of like investment that I imagine
right.
it was. Yeah.
Right. But you have a lead producer who waited 20 years to make it because he wanted to do it right. You have a director who like has been obsessed with the idea of adapting this since he was a kid and saw it, or, you know, a teenager, I guess, and saw it out of town, you know, before it made it to Broadway. You have two lead actresses who have either wanted to do this for 15 years or 30 years.
Right.
Like their passion was, you know, so palpable.
Yeah.
And everybody was like that. I mean, I was about to go list through. I was gonna list through everyone in the cast and why everybody was so passionate about it. But that was a really cool experience. This was not just a paycheck for anybody.
Right.
Which is a really cool thing to be a part of. It's a really special thing to be a part of.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So yeah, I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah.
And I also knew that like Boq and Nessa's storyline is sort of backloaded, right? Like there was a lot of stuff that we shot in the first movie that didn't make it to the screen.
Sure.
Which, to connect actually to the earlier conversation we had, I feel really okay about because I'm a writer.
Right.
And because I'm a writer. I want to direct. I understand the big picture to some degree, and I think that if I were any more focused on myself than I already am, because I am. But if I were any more focused on myself, I would be like, oh, man, they cut my best scene.
Right.
But when the moment came, I was like, that was the right call.
Yeah.
That was right.
Yeah.
Damn, that was right. So, I knew that the second movie was a place where I was going to feel really proud.
Yeah.
To show the world. So it was an interesting thing to then like wait for it to come out and be like.
And of course, your life has moved on ostensibly in other ways. Like you shot it in 2 weeks or whatever it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we're experiencing it now or whatever, but you are on other projects. Like your mind is in multiple places, right? Yeah. You may not be as obsessed with Wicked today as you were when you shot it 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks, 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Right. No, it's really true. It's so funny. It's such a weird thing. It's the opposite of theater in that way,
exactly.
Which is that
there's
theater
no immediate reaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have an immediate response.
Yeah.
And in this, there's kind of a nice buffer in a good way. If you need to remove yourself from it before the audience interacts with it, you can.
You can. Well, I've heard you in a different, maybe it was that same Vault interview. That was a very interesting interview that you did with Vault magazine.
That was great. That was fun.
It seemed that way. I liked them. I never heard of them before I saw you there. But I heard you say in that interview that I think the person interviewing you was asking about sort of the ascension of your notoriety with Wicked, and they were asking you to reflect on various aspects of that. And you said at some point, I don't think this is out of context, that people are discovering you in so many words, they're discovering you in your roles are sort of becoming more known as opposed to you becoming more known. And I'm just curious, like, you clearly, I think my sense was you liked that. And I'm just curious to hear you express why you like it that way. I don't think everybody would. I mean, I don't think everyone had that same appraisal of like preferring their roles to be known as opposed to them as like the person who's filling the role being known. So I'm curious why you think that you prefer the former.
I don't love people guessing or filling in blanks or making things up about my private life. And it's not that my life is like private from
I know
them,
exactly
but
what
you know what I
know
mean.
exactly what you mean.
It's not a fun thing to experience.
Yeah.
Whether something's being reported accurately or inaccurately, it's just not a fun
You still
thing
want
to
them in your
experience.
business, right?
And so I think that was so loud for just a short period of time. I mean, it still is a little bit. And the idea that, and that was happening like with people being like, oh, this guy. Oh, did you know that he was like, is an actor and he did these other things? And I was like, the side
I
note.
see what you mean.
Like colors,
I got you.
you know? And I think I've had this very weird experience, which is that when SpongeBob came out, people loved SpongeBob.
Yeah.
It was like it had very few haters.
Right.
And then the sort of general public that hadn't seen, that wasn't part of the Broadway community who had
Right.
seen it, who knew it, they were coming at it from like a gossipy place,
Sure.
and it sort of suddenly had to like defend itself. And so I was like, oh man, I hate seeing the SpongeBob musical, this Broadway show that I'm so proud of, have to defend itself.
Right.
Against,
because there's this random entry point that
because
like
this
is
entry
not,
that's
I got
like
you.
so for me, I love that now that this, honestly, it's been happening. I did a TV show called Gen V, and I'm doing, and the second Wicked movie's come out, and I've had a couple of other little things that are happening, and the more things finally are in the public, the more people are like, oh, that's the guy from
He's
that
an actor,
thing,
right?
Oh, he plays a bunch of different roles. Oh, like, you know. So
Yes.
I think like being recognized for roles feels like I'm proud of it. It's a nice thing.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing for one's ego, for people to be
Yeah, of
like, I
course.
loved you in that thing. I like the work you
course.
did. And that hopefully begets other work and gives me
Yeah.
more opportunities to do the thing that I love to do.
Yeah.
Being known for being me, or some projection of who people think I am, that's kind of a bummer.
It's so interesting. That is a very valid and fair and a very generous explanation and thoughtful answer. It's so funny because the way I read it before I asked you and you editorialized and filled in the way you just did, the way I read it, and I'm probably projecting, because I actually sometimes get frustrated that people's entry point to me, Wes, is my job and my role, right? Like they think they define me in their mind, and like my worth to them is because of like the role, what I've done, who I am, whatever, all those things, right?
Yeah.
And the truth is, I find myself much more interesting, high value, and exciting because of who I am, like generally as a person, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually do what I do and I enjoy it, and it's amazing, and I'm very grateful to have all the opportunities that I have. But the truth is, like, I actually like want to be experienced as like Wes the person, and not Wes all the other different things.
Well, when you're talking about it, do you mean like people in your life? Do you mean like conversations that you have, somebody saying, how are you versus how is work? Or do you mean when people approach you first for the newly for the first time?
Yeah, I think probably a combination of the of the two.
Yeah.
Not like family and close friends, obviously they know me in myriad ways, obviously. But yeah, I think people who are like casual friends or like folks who I'm meeting, and I might be meeting them through some opaque work-oriented kind of function, right? So I understand why that could be their defaults in terms of how they're getting to know me. So I'm not villainizing them for that. But I feel strongly that I am like a person that has incredible like value, interesting things, and like attractive spirits removed from my professional exploits.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, maybe I'll amend my editorialization to.
And I wasn't trying to get you to do that.
No, it's good. It's good though, because I'm thinking about this, because I think it's not to change what I said, but to add a little footnote, addendum.
Yeah, addendum. Yeah.
Like, to be truly known is a beautiful thing.
Right.
For people to think they know you can be very frustrating.
Yeah.
And I think it's like being misunderstood.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a deeply human thing to be frustrated by.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying though, because I do think that being known just for your work is flattening.
Yeah. And it's unstable, right? Because those things change, right?
Sure.
Like those things don't remain the same. You also might want to change how you express yourself through work, right? So I want to feel the freedom that, like, if I choose to live a life that looks different, like phenotypically, than what it looks like today, that folks still like see through those sort of things, like who Wes is, and don't sort of assume I'm a different person or someone they wouldn't engage with less because like the phenotype of how I express my work or my interests changes.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense.
Okay.
No, I think no, but it's interesting. I also like kind of connected to like the movement of not asking people how's work, right? Or like or not asking people what do you do for a living,
right?
And I think I'm very self-conscious about asking people what they do for a living. I'm curious,
certainly,
often, but I'm also self-conscious because I don't want to answer the question.
Right, 100%, right?
I mean, I love what I do, and I really love it. It takes
absolutely,
it takes up a lot of my brain space. Yeah. But in most situations, when I'm meeting somebody, I don't want to be like, "Hey, I'm Ethan. I'm an actor and a writer. What do you do?"
Exactly.
So I'm self-conscious about asking people.
Yeah. I love that.
That's interesting.
Wonderful. Before we go into our student hot seat questions, because we have to, I just want to say, and I promise I'm not mad about this, but I just want to say out loud that I was debating what to wear today, which I do every day, by the way.
I feel
you have
a lot
options and you have choices.
You look great, by the way.
That's very sweet of you to say. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I had this blazer, which I've owned for years and never worn.
Yeah.
And there was my coworker, Veronica, who I love dearly. I like a lot of oversized things too. I like sort of being like a contrast of like form-fitting clothes and then be swimming in some sort of top layer, if you will.
Sure.
And so she had this oversized pink sweater, which I loved. And I wore it and was like, oh, I love that sweater. But the thing is, I chose to wear this today. I'm gonna actually give you a chance to guess why you think for you I chose to wear it. And I just want to make sure you can see it particularly.
It's the heart. Keep
talking.
Well, if I'm gonna go, am I gonna go with? Did you decide this after the weekend?
Yes.
Because the Tin Man lost his heart.
You got it.
That's beautiful. I love it.
And that's why I chose to wear this particular blazer, because I was trying to
bring heart back to the conversation.
You and your character and our conversation something that I think we all need, which is heart and love and humanity and all that.
That is a beautiful thing.
I just have to say,
I love an intentional choice.
And I was wondering if you would stumble upon it in our conversation. That's a high bar, so I'm not actually like disappointed you didn't.
No, thank you.
But I just wanted to, because we didn't get there, I wanted to make it explicit.
Because sorry, that face that I made was because I thought I ripped my pants. It was.
That
I just wanted to say that I think that I maybe I maybe just ripped my pants.
I love that.
Wow.
That happened. It's like a costume.
Oops, I know.
It's like it would happen. It's what happens, right?
That's okay.
So let me ask you these hot seat questions, and then we have our one parting question.
Okay. Yes. Let's go. Hot seat questions.
So I actually have. Okay. There are 3 questions. One of which is a regular question, whatever that means.
Okay.
And then 2 are different in ways that you'll understand when I ask them. Okay. Don't be scared.
Sorry, that's like my stasis. So.
Okay. But you're in a safe place. So the first question is, in the musical of your life, which song would be Ethan's theme song or anthem?
A theme song or like my I Want song? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Are we talking? Okay. Can I ask a follow-up question with the question?
Of course, Papa.
Okay. In the musical of my life.
Yeah.
Are we talking? Is this a jukebox musical? Or are we like picking other songs?
Oh. Don't make it too obscure. Like don't have.
Well, it's gonna look if we're going for like a discography to be the music for the musical of my life.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like in the Paul Simon vein.
Okay.
I think it soundtracked such a big part of my life growing up. And it's something that I come back to for comfort periodically.
Okay.
I think it's going to be that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's it. I love it. That can be it.
That's the answer.
But you're done thinking? Okay.
Maybe I'm just wondering if it's like a specific song. Because it's not. The
lyrics
aren't so specific.
You don't have to do all that.
Yeah, and we're gonna go with. It's a Paul Simon.
Okay, perfect. The last 2 questions, and let me explain why they're different, is a student has asked you to embody characters that you have played before.
Okay.
But they're asking. There's two scenarios I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
But they're asking you to like either embody however you can choose how you want to embody it.
Yeah.
The characters reacting to a particular Vassar situation. We're trying to place the characters at Vassar.
Okay. All
and
right.
embody their reaction.
Okay.
Right? Okay. You understand the premise?
I think so. So you're gonna present me with a situation and a character.
Yes.
Or do I just have the
No.
character? No. You're presenting me with both.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go.
So there's two of those.
Yeah.
And there's two variables each time. You understand that, right? The character and the situation.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. The first one,
Uh-huh.
SpongeBob,
I thought so.
reacts to a failing grade at his Vassar writing seminar.
Wow, an F. Fantastic.
You are doing perfectly at this.
How's that?
It was incredible.
Who asked that question? Do I get to know?
I will tell you when we finish.
Okay, great.
Okay. And
Whoever asked that
the
question.
third one asked by the same person. They contributed the same
Thank you.
like framework to
Okay.
these questions.
I love it.
First variable is Boq.
Mm-hmm.
And I should say that we can actually pivot. It can be Boq or the Tin Man, whoever you think is better in this particular situation.
Yeah. It's probably gonna be Boq.
Okay. The situation is Boq.
Mm-hmm.
I have two situations I want to choose from. I'm going to give you options.
Okay.
There's going to be choice.
Okay.
So Boq is the character.
All right.
But the two options are meeting his roommate for the first time
Yeah.
or going to the D's.
I think I would probably go with hey, it's so good to meet you. I've always wanted to make a friend, or I live in the same place as somebody. Is there anything that you need from me? That would be Boq meeting his roommate for the first
I
time.
love it.
Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't say my name.
I love it. A+.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
Going to the D's though is funny. Have
you seen the D's recently?
No.
Have you been to the D's? Okay, so you don't know. So first of all, the tables.
Okay. No, that's so funny to go. Okay, so you don't know. It's really
No.
I feel like that's gonna be big. So you don't know.
Well, first of all, hold on.
All right, so you don't know yet.
The contributor of the questions is none other than our administrative fellow in communications, Nandini, who's sitting outside the door.
Nandini.
So
we met
you
on
can
the way in.
yes, exactly. So these are Nandini's great ideas and suggestions. And the D's has new tables, which I know sounds like it's a minuscule thing, but it's actually.
huge.
I'm gonna see if I can find you pictures, but they're
I should
really okay.
If I have
perfect.
time, I'm gonna go. It's a
We have
patch day.
time. We have time.
Okay.
We have time. There's cool tables in there,
Yeah.
and the food is different, in a positive way. So I'm
Great.
told. I actually was never here when like the Malcolm Gladwell stuff and the whole thing, the article. I wasn't here at that time. I'm
That
deeply
was after.
aware.
That was after me too.
Right.
I remember that article.
So I'm aware of the article. I'm aware of the points in the article, but I haven't eaten that food from that time.
But can I just say something?
Please
that
do.
article made Vassar look very good.
Of course, no one's
Right?
ashamed of it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
No one's ashamed of it. Yeah. In fact, he lives up in Hudson.
Yeah, I love it there.
And I found myself at a dinner party with him in Hudson several years ago, and I asked him about the article. Or I said, he asked me what I did for work, ironically enough.
Yeah.
And I said I work at whatever, and
Yeah.
he instantly brought the article and said, how's the
How's
food?
the food doing? How's the food?
I was like,
you know what? I loved the D. I loved going to the D's. I was very I stayed on the meal plan.
Yeah.
As much as I could.
Yeah.
It was great. It was a great situation for me.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
And that was when I was still drinking milk, and I remember getting the chocolate milk there. That's such a weird thing. Drinking milk is crazy. I didn't drink a lot of milk, but I remember there was milkshakey chocolate milk. This is crazy. This is a crazy thing to say. I don't know why that's. I don't drink milk.
Drinking milk is strange.
It's a strange thing to do. I'm also
objectively.
I'm not. This isn't an avenue we have to go down. I'm vegan, and so I don't. It's I really don't drink milk.
Yeah.
And the thought of it is kind of crazy to me. So
Okay.
for the first thing for me to have said was, "This is when I was drinking
milk."
is crazy. That's a crazy thing to say.
Well, let me give you another Vassar plug that I hope you can explore as a vegan person. There is a great Vassar alum who is class of, I can't even tell you, let's call it between 07 and 09.
Cool.
Who opened up a plant-based burger joint that started in Hudson Valley, but now they have 2 locations in the city.
Called
Moonburger.
Moonburger. Heard of it?
Have you been? You haven't been?
I haven't been.
You have to go.
Okay.
It's a Vassar thing.
Really?
Like Vassar alum thing.
Cool.
It's in Nolita. There's 2 in the city. One in
Yeah.
Nolita opened up last month, and one in Williamsburg opened up last year.
Amazing.
And it is the best. You're going to love it.
Moonburger.
plant-based shakes, like the whole
Wow.
thing. So like you can have your
I can
milk.
have my
You
milk.
can have it. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Our
I'm
last thing
excited.
before we finish
Yeah.
is, I want to do this segment, the Salt Line Show and Tell, and you, of course, understand the premise of the Salt Lines of having these sort of purposeful collisions of juxtaposing things, physical, ideologic, sort of coming together to sort of create some beautiful, generative kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in a different world, you would have, I'm embarrassing you would have
No, it's
physical
okay, yeah.
objects.
This is where I'm
sort
a
of
slacker.
show. There we go.
Yeah, I
You're
tied it all
true to
in.
form, Papa. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You would have brought physical things to sort of demonstrate
Yeah.
the salt line in your life, but we don't need physical things. We can imagine.
We can speak in concepts.
And so I would love for you to just tell our listeners, what you think are two things that represent unique salt lines of Ethan Slater.
You know what? It's interesting. I had this thought of what I was going to bring in, which is like was so work based. And as we've
Okay.
talked more, I'm like I'm wondering if there's another angle I can go off the cuff. But
Yeah.
because I don't just really want to talk about. I don't want to talk about. So the thing that just give me one beat.
Take
Give me
your
a
time.
beat.
Yeah. What do you all say? A click of
a clock tick?
A clock tick. There
Yeah,
you go.
give me a clock tick, Gaverick. Okay, so this is maybe tell me if this does or does not respond to the brief. I have this feeling that it might not, but I think that there are two diametrically opposed ideas that are really big in my life, which is impatience and patience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if they're a little too much of the same river to really be considered the salt line.
Keep talking.
But I think that for me, what I've found is that I'm incredibly impatient. I want things to happen quickly. I used to really want to skip steps and, to what you were speaking about in bar classes, right? Like,
Just
without
go
learning the
make-
basics, I wanted to jump ahead to making these great cocktails, but you need to learn the basics. So I was very impatient in that way. I didn't want to do my scales on the guitar. I wanted to just be writing songs. And then sort of the overarching narrative of my life being the things that you are not paying attention to are the things that really blossom the most. The watch pot, doesn't boil.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I've been really coming up against those two things, and what I've found is that if I can use the impatience to be my drive to constantly address problems, or for in the work situation to be always doing what I can do and trying to better myself, and then I can take a step back overall and let the world come to what I'm doing, or let me come to the world and be patient. I need sort of like a cosmic patience and a personal impatience to make things happen. And I've got, I think that's really true in my work. And I think I'm finding that it's actually really true in life.
Your personal life.
In my personal life. So those are two things that I think I used to think up until a couple of years ago were diametrically
exist together.
opposed. But they actually need each other.
That's perfect.
How was that?
It's perfect, and it's beautiful. And I honestly do hope that the prompt and the ability to articulate it serves you in some way.
I think it does. I don't know that I've actually articulated that feeling.
I had the feeling that, not that you didn't know it, but I was feeling like it was like a new experience.
Yeah.
To articulate it out loud together.
It is, yeah.
So I'm happy that you share. I'm grateful that you shared, and I'm happy that it's how you're thinking about your life. It has been such a pleasure.
My pleasure's been mine. This has
with
been
you.
so nice.
It's been so fun for me. And I'm so grateful that you joined us here on the podcast today. I'm happy that you're back on campus, and hope that it's giving you positive, emotional, sensory, recall
It's
to
been
be in
really,
this particular place.
really beautiful.
Good.
And so weird.
That's okay.
Yeah, in a really
It's a
great
good
way.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
And thank you all for tuning in for another episode of Conversations at the Salt Line. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.